Hey, my witches. It's been a minute since I've talked with you. Um, Sorry about that. I've had family living with me, and they finally now, I mean, I love them. Obviously, I love having family with me, but it gets to be cramped. I have a little tiny townhome, as you can see. This is my upstairs living room. So, at any rate, my temple room will be back up and functioning within a couple of weeks now, so I'll be able to like do more ritual demonstration type stuff with you and things like that. So I'm happy about that. But today I'm actually wanting to talk with you about something very important, um, the role of witches in women's reproductive health and women's rights. And by women, I mean all women. You cannot, you know, you could be a trans woman and you're a woman to me. Also, trans men who have uteri, this is pertaining to you as well. Texas. Texas. hmm Yeah. They've followed in the footsteps of Georgia and Ohio, bringing us back to, the Victorian era, where women don't have reproductive rights. Well, well. So, you know me, I'm very expressive. You know that I don't mince words. I don't think any witch worth their salt does mince words. Um, Being a witch is about strength. And also, I'm sorry you're getting me a little bit unkempt today. Like I slept in this. But we're friends, right? Okay, so women have historically come to witches for abortifacients and for abortion procedures. And I don't care what anybody says. Making abortion inaccessible is never about being pro-life. Okay, it's the fuck not. And I'll tell you why. These pro-life people don't ever bother picketing fertility clinics, which destroy hundreds of thousands of fertilized eggs every year. That's right. Yeah. If you don't know how fertility treatments work, often is they will give the uterus having party drugs to cause rapid ovulation, sometimes double ovulation. And one of the methods that they do is in vitro fertilization, where they take the egg, they take the sperm from the father, and they fertilize the egg, and then they put sometimes multiple fertilized eggs back into the uterus for implantation. There are people who have frozen zygotes in storage that they never use, too, that just get thrown away. And not one right to life person, pro-life, I'm so pro-life, a clump of cells is a baby, right? They don't care about the destruction of fertilized eggs, or they would be all over these fertility clinics, and they're not. So this is not at all about, the right to be born. Furthermore, in the Bible, it states very clearly in the Old Testament that life starts at the first breath. Period. Okay, so y'all Christian people who are like, oh no, it's what God wants, it's what Jesus wants. No. Oh no. Abortion is allowed in the Old Testament. It's allowed. Okay. And there's even an instruction on how to do it if a man thinks his wife has cheated on him. Yeah, it's in there. You bring her to the rabbi, and the rabbi prepares a concoction. And supposedly, if she cheated on her husband, then she would abort. Obviously, it's an abortifacient. She would abort 100% of the time because it's an abortifacient that he's giving her, which is really sad, because that means that even if a woman didn't cheat on her husband, now she's labeled an adulteress. But, we're not going to get into that. It's not my religion. I'm not Jewish. I'm not Christian, for reasons. lots of reasons. But anyway, so here's the thing. Witches protect the downtrodden, the people whose rights are not upheld. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you publicly the recipe and instructions for using abortifacient tea. And I would also like to say that because Craigslist keeps, flagging, so I'm going to put it here because I can put it here. This isn't Craigslist. This is my space. Cora might not like it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. People in Texas or Georgia or Ohio or any state that I'm missing that doesn't allow reproductive rights for women and girls and other uterus owners, contact me. We will get you to Minnesota. We will get you to Minnesota and to a safe medical facility if you need to have an abortion. Contact me. I got people. We will get you here. You will be housed in a nice, clean, safe household. You will be given transportation to the clinic and from the clinic. You will be given food. You will be given support. If it's not me, it'll be somebody I know or somebody who is known by somebody I know, but we will get you here. We will. No woman nor girl should ever be forced to give birth, or uterus having party should ever be forced to give birth against their will. Ever. So, that said, witches, we do this shit. Why? Because it is morally and ethically absolutely imperative to do so. Okay. Now, the following is given not to encourage anyone to terminate a pregnancy. Nobody is pro-abortion. Nobody says, abortions are great, everybody should have abortions. That's not what we're doing here. This is about choice, okay? Nobody who wants to give birth has to have an abortion, right? So I'm giving it for information purposes. And I'm doing it also as an act of civil disobedience, if you will, because when people do things that are morally wrong, such as passing laws that control women's bodies and women's life trajectories, the true witch stands up to that shit, okay? In whatever way. Maybe you can't do it verbally. Maybe you live in a Bible Belt, you can't just stand and scream it from the rooftops like I can. I'd still do it. I would do it. I would do it anywhere. I'd do it in Iran. They'd kill me. I'd go out like Agnes Nutter in Good Omens. But anyway, so the recipe is simple. Now, first the instructions. You can only take this tea that I'm about to give you the recipe for up to 6 weeks of gestation. That doesn't mean 6 weeks late from your period. It means up to a week and a half to 2 weeks after a missed period, because you're already 4 to 5 weeks pregnant when you figure out when you're late with your period. You can take this tea even if you haven't confirmed that you're pregnant, but you think you might be pregnant, because it will bring your period either way, right? So the second you think you might be pregnant, that's when you take it. So I encourage people to buy the supplies in advance. So what you do, this is all done with dried herbs, okay? It uses pennyroyal. So pennyroyal dried herb, not the oil. The oil, if it is used incorrectly, will be fatal to you. So even though I know people who have taken the oil successfully, they're usually very educated with regard to herbalism. They know exactly what they're doing. I don't encourage anybody to take the oil. So what you want is a handful of dried pennyroyal herb. Then you want a handful, smallish, fits in your palm, a handful of blue cohosh, a small handful of black cohosh, and a small handful of any dried mint, such as peppermint, spearmint. I use peppermint because it's a little stronger, because the stuff tastes awful. So what you do is you put this stuff, you mix it up, you put it in a coffee filter bound with like a twist tie, or you can use cheesecloth or even a clean nylon stocking, and bind it up with something, whether that's a hair tie, a rubber band, whatever. But make sure that the sachet is fairly loose in there. You don't want it packed super tight, because then the tea, it won't get all the herb into the water. Put this sachet into a large pot of very hot water. You want to try not to boil it. It'll still work if you boil it, but the way to steep tea is to bring it right up to before it boils, but not boiling it. It's an infusion, not a decoction. Okay, so you steep that until it's quite dark, and then you pour it into a pitcher and you keep it in the refrigerator, and you take a large water glass full morning, noon, and night. Now this will cause you to cramp. Your period should come within 6 days, sometimes 6 to 7. So what you need to do is, once you start bleeding, you continue to take the tea, but you don't want to take the tea past like 9 or 10 days, okay? And you can only take it up to 6 weeks gestation, which means that as soon as you miss that period, you need to be taking this tea within like 24 hours of your missed period. Again, you don't have to pee on a stick. You don't have to know for sure that you're pregnant. Just take the tea. Now, doesn't taste great. You may have to make another pot or whatever, depending on how much you've made. Take the tea for a couple days after you start to bleed, and when you feel like you've had a full period, then take the pregnancy test to see if you have a negative result. You should have a negative result after you've had what is for you a normal period. Now, the period might be extra heavy. This is not to be used later in gestation, only up to 6 weeks. I have to just really emphasize that, okay? But I've used it personally successfully myself. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about why witches do this. Why do witches defend women's right like this? Well, first of all, a lot of us are women, but also we believe in personal autonomy. Okay, we don't even bow our heads to our gods. I sure as fuck ain't doing it to the government. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Witches used to, in days of old, also perform actual physical abortions. I'm not trained to do that. I would never do that myself, but witches have in the past done such things. It's important for women and girls and other uterus-having people to have access to abortion procedures, because it does not make abortion stop if we make abortion illegal. What ends up happening is women and girls just die. They die from illegal back alley abortions, okay? And there are some people, these people who think that's just fine, right? It's like, oh, well, she deserves to die. She was doing something immoral. It's like, okay, so all of a sudden you're not so pro-life then? All of a sudden this live woman is actually worth less to you than a potential person? Okay, all right. So, for instance, when I used this tea, I was in a horrifically abusive first marriage. And I mean, this man snapped my spine, severed tendons in my hand, okay? And my 27-year-old was a baby. She was 4 months old, and I conceived again. And I already knew that I was going to have to get out of that marriage. I was planning. It took me till she was 3 years old before I was able to get out, because anyone knows who knows anything about domestic abuse, they make it very hard for you to leave them, and often financially control the person and all sorts of things like that. But I knew if I had two, there was no way that I was ever going to get out of that. I couldn't afford to take care of more than one child, and I was going to struggle to take care of one child. He never paid child support. He was ordered to do so. He never did, and whatever. I didn't even open a case on him. I just wanted him out of my life. But so I had a talk with the potential proto person. You know, if there's a soul attached to this pregnancy, excuse me, please understand that I cannot be your portal to this realm right now. You must find another woman to be your mother. I'm sorry. This is not a choice for me. I can't do it. I'm going to be taking tea to expel the pregnancy. Please understand that I'm very sorry, and this is nothing personal. I would love to bring you into the world under other circumstances, but I cannot. And I began to take the tea. Very interestingly, that day, I felt a sharp pain, the implantation pulling out of the uterine wall. I hadn't taken enough tea yet to really have the tea be the cause of that, so I often wondered if it voluntarily went, okay, I hear you, and I'm going to go find another way to be born. And this saved the child I did have and saved me. No person should ever be forced to give birth. And I will say that until my dying breath. Do not accept any legislation that immorally causes you to lose your human rights or anyone else to lose their human rights. It is a human right to decide how your life goes. Period. So, I'm disgusted. I am deeply, deeply disgusted with people who try to control reproductive freedoms. And I want them to know, very literally, if they catch fire in front of me, I'm getting sticks and marshmallows, and I will sleep like a damn baby. You don't fuck with women. You don't fuck with my sisters, my daughters, my granddaughters, my nieces, or any other person who has a uterus. Because if you do, you will meet me, and you will meet all the witches, and you can't control us. Kill one, 5 more pop up. So, I always charge anybody who uses this tea to train at least 5 other people on how to use it. I have given this hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, both on the internet, you know, writing it down in a lady's bathroom and leaving it, you know, to whom it may concern. If you need to abort before 6 weeks, here's the, you know, or up to 6 weeks. That's the thing. In Texas, they're saying that you can't have an abortion after 6 weeks. Well, 6 weeks is when you find out you're pregnant a lot of times. You know, 5.5 weeks to 6 weeks. So basically, in effect, it makes sure that nobody can really get an abortion. Yeah. It's not about being pro-life. It's about being anti-woman. So, this witch has given you a sacred charge. If you use the tea, train 5 others at least. And fuck Texas. Right. I'm not very passionate. I don't know if you've noticed. At any rate, I will make another video soon now that I have more time, more free time. And I'm so sorry that I have to come to you under these circumstances. Never accept control from an outside entity. Never. That is the message of the witches. Right? Love you guys.